You're 62 years old and you have finally retired, and you're sitting here now with $700,000 in your 401k, and the question becomes, should you now start the conversion from IRA 401k money to a Roth? That's what we're going to look at today. Hello, my name's John Vandergriff. I'm one of the owners and the lead wealth planner at Blue Ridge Wealth Planners. We help people with discussions on transitioning into retirement, or if you're already there, making sure that you've planned for all the things that go into these retirement years. One of those very important areas that we have to talk about with people on a daily basis is tax planning. And so that's what we're going to discuss today, really focusing on the journey from 401k monies to a Roth. Does that make sense? Are there situations where it does or does not? That's what we're going to look at with our time today. So this particular one is a 62-year-old that is retired with $700,000 in a 401k. Is now the right time? And if it is, what makes sense to convert based on their situation? And so, obviously as we do this, there are a lot of things that we have to consider in this tax planning world, so we want to make sure that we look at this and say, first of all, this is a particularly individualized situation. So is yours. You want to make sure you get all the information. Do not make any tax planning recommendations based on just this YouTube video. Talk to a tax planner, tax advisor, CPA, someone. That way you've got all the information on the table. Make sure you get the right guidance here. Or, you can keep learning and talk to us. And again, if you like the content that we go through today, make sure that you like, share, subscribe the videos. That way we can help more people with this information. So as we said, we help people in this journey of retirement planning. We talk about what we call a plan for everything, which is going to focus on 5 primary areas: income planning, investment planning, taxes, healthcare, and family legacy. So obviously we're going to focus on taxes and really, build a bridge between our income now and versus later and the taxes that we pay. But all these things are interconnected. All these things need to be planned for in conjunction with each other, just so you're not missing any opportunities or advantages where these things come together. So get a little more detail on this situation. We have a married couple, both of which are 62 years old. They've accumulated $700,000 in 401ks, $200,000 between bank savings and other after-tax investment accounts. They have today a combined income from Social Security of almost $3,000 a month. And then their income need at retirement now is $60,000 a year. So again, once they get above Social Security, they're dipping into their savings to do this, and every time they do that, that is a taxable event. So as we look at this, keys to Roth conversions, obviously moving money out of an IRA or 401k is a taxable event. Whatever that income is going to go on top of any other income that you have that year, either from distributions from other accounts, that are taxable, wages that you have, Social Security, all those things are going to stack, and then these are going to be your most tax-heavy income in any particular year. Now, a Roth IRA needs to be in place for 5 years before it is completely tax-free for your distributions. And so, if you're over the age of 59 and a half, you can make your conversion over. Your principal will be available during those 5 years. The growth on that money would be taxable if you access that, which is our last point. If you convert under the age of 59 and a half, the entire account would have a 10% penalty during that 5-year period if you touched it. So important difference there. Since this particular situation is over 62, we've got the ability to access some of these monies, but make sure we don't touch the growth. But it is a taxable event that we've got to look at, and so we've got to see if now is a good time to make that taxable transaction. So as we look at it, total income need $60,000. You see the breakdown of their Social Security income, a little over $35,000, almost $36,000 of income today. When they take distributions out of their 401k, their income will be $60,000, puts them in the 12% tax bracket. And so what we're looking at is, does it make sense to do conversions on top of the income they're pulling out? And we'll walk through that discussion because they've got $700,000 here of money that has yet to have taxes paid. They're obviously living on that, but if they could live on it in a more tax-free situation or with the least taxes pulled, that would be beneficial. And then we've got $200,000 of after-tax money that could either be used for lifestyle or for paying taxes if we decide to go that route. So as we look at this, we need to know where those tax brackets are today for us as individuals, but as also with this individual situation, to make sure that we're making good recommendations. So as we look at this, $60,000 of income would be at the 12% tax bracket. If we jump down to 2017 here, if the tax code that is currently in place expires, it will revert back to these brackets. These are adjusted for inflation to be today's dollars. So this would put them in the 15% tax bracket if we were looking at doing conversions. And then to bring up a time that was far greater than what we've gotten used to tax-wise is the year 1981. This shows those brackets adjusted for inflation. And as you see here, it doesn't take long before you get to much higher tax rates than we've seen in a long time, topping out at 70%. So as we look at this, we need to know those tax brackets. We need to know how this money's taxed. But bigger than that, we've got to know if now is truly the right time to start paying taxes on these monies. Because when we look at it, I'm going to show you very simply the only thing that matters in evaluating this particular situation. So let's say you've got a 401k, and for round number's sake, we're going to put $100,000 here so we can walk through this discussion. What we're comparing is if we stay down the 401k path versus if we take this money and move it into either a Roth IRA or Roth 401k. Okay, so if we do that, obviously the nature of this money changes, and we've got to see if that's a benefit or a negative for you. So 401k, if it stays there, is going to stay at $100,000 because it's going to continue to grow tax deferred. If we move that money to a Roth, it's going to add $100,000 of income on top of, in this case, the $60,000 of income this family has. And let's assume it was a 20% effective tax rate that it would cost. You withheld that from this money. You've now got $80,000 in the Roth where you did have $100,000 in the 401k. Some advisors will look at this and say this is a bad idea for you because you have less money, and if the market grows, you're going to make less return. And on the short term, from a math perspective, that is true. But we're not looking at apples for apples, the same buckets, because this one is going to grow from this point forward tax-free. This one's going to continue to accumulate taxable gain and then settle up at the end wherever those tax rates are. We're going to look at that. So again, let's assume that from this point we're investing the money the same way, same length of time, and over that time this money doubles. That takes care of inflation calculations, time value money, any other things that you want to throw in because that's the only way to make this truly a discussion about taxes. So as we look at this, the Roth doubles to 160, the 401k doubles to 200. If that 160 doubles, we know because it's a Roth and it's been in place for longer than 5 years, we're assuming that we've got the entire $160,000 available to us for whatever we need. The 401k though, it depends on what the tax rate is at the time we take distributions. And so as we look at this, if 20% was the same tax rate as it was at the beginning, what we find is that the bottom number on both sides is exactly the same. So again, what matters in this example is when can you pay not the lowest dollar of taxes, but the lowest tax percentage on the dollars that you have. That is truly what matters. Now, the typical advice that we get about retirement is that those tax percentages are going to be lower when we have a lower income. And although that has been true in the past, that is not anything that you have ever been promised. To look at this conversation, if the tax rate did go down from 20 to let's say 10% when you retired, then you would be in a position where even though you're getting tax-free growth on this Roth, you actually have more money at the end of the day inside of your 401k. So if the tax brackets go down, that's better for you to pay the tax then versus paying that tax now. Now, because of the situation that we're in today, which is looking at a time where our government is overspending their income by a pretty large percentage, and also have accumulated over many years of doing that, a very large debt. We're now over $30 trillion as a country in debt. We've got a problem, and the only way to solve that problem is by increasing taxes. And again, if we've got a bucket of our savings that is 100% affected by a tax increase, that's something that we've got to limit and really identify when can we pay the lowest tax. Because if those tax rates go up for you in the future, you will have less money. Even if you go ahead and take a big chunk out now, grow it over time, again, the tax rate is what matters in this example. So we've got to find that time. And so for this particular situation, even after we fund our lifestyle and retirement with the $60,000 of income, if we're looking at doing IRA conversions on top of that, today that would start at 12%. With that same income, if taxes just reverted backwards, it would go to 15, which again is still a better deal, even though it's just 3%. And if 1981 were to repeat itself in the future with those tax brackets, your tax brackets would actually double on $60,000 of income, which is hard to believe, but could very, very likely to happen. So again, if we have the lowest position that we can today from a tax perspective, we got to look at this and say, okay, it may make sense to do it. How much do we convert? And so I think for them, this married couple, they could go and add almost $50,000 of income to their taxable income today, stay in the 12% tax bracket, and if they wanted to go above that, if they just did an equivalent conversion into the 22 that they did in the 12, their effective tax rate of conversion is 17, which again, I think 15%, going back to our example here, I don't think it's going to stop here. I think reality is somewhere between 15 and 24% for this income level in the future. And if it is, an effective tax rate of 17 may make sense. And if we want to limit it at 15, we just do less conversion in the 22. But these are the things that we've got to look at, because if we did this, you'd be able to take, almost $99,000 of income, convert it into a tax-free position, pay those taxes now, and then be in a position where that money starts growing tax-free and can be used tax-free, again, fully after 5 years. So these are the things that we have to evaluate when we're trying to make tax planning discussions. And so if no one's ever talked to you about this in this particular way and trying to look at your details to see when is the best time for you, that's something that we would be happy to do for you. What I would invite you to do is click the link that you see below, schedule a time where you can talk to us here at Blue Ridge Wealth Planners, see how we can help you in this venture, and not only looking at the taxes, but also how these pieces fit together in a complete retirement plan. And so, hopefully you learned some things today. We look forward to sharing more content. As we said, please click the like button, subscribe, share this with other people so that we can get this message out and hopefully help a lot of people legally take advantage of the tax rates that we're experiencing today. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.